Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mice if you're listening, I am your host of the Indie Wrestling Podcast, Meister Johnny Bates, Le Johnny Bates, Meister Bates if you translate that to English, Master Bates. And we are back, Season 2, Episode 1. As you can see in the bottom right corner, not some good news today. News broke yesterday that Samoa Joe was released from the WWE. WWE, what are you doing? Samoa Joe, he wasn't, well, I don't know how to say if he was in the ring, but he was injury prone. He shouldn't have been released. He has so much knowledge to give the younger people in NXT 2.0. But that is what it is. We've got John Covington, regular member of the interview chat, in the chat tonight. How are you doing, Mr. Harper's Angel? And as you can see in the thumbnail and the title, tonight we have the second edition of the annual Indie Viewer Awards. Last year was strictly just to IVW. This year, 2021 IVW, it was around in the first half, but it weren't around in the second, so we ain't going to count it this year. However, it will count for these subjects: Match of the Year, Company of the Year, Breakout Star of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Female Wrestler of the Year, and Male Wrestler of the Year. A few of these people might not agree with, but this is a subjective podcast. These winners are my opinion, so if you don't like my opinion, fuck off. Oh, I'm good, Covington. I am good. We're back again after a long break from the podcast. As you can notice, Constraint here, he's busy with work at the minute. I'm not at work at the minute, been laid off till February. Hopefully, I'll be able to still keep up all the streams I'm doing at the minute in February. We'll see how that is. But this week, news and wrestling, NXT releases. A load of Triple H people, you know what I mean? But the one that shocked me the most, it's got to be William Regal, to be honest. William Regal, he came from the world of sport days of English wrestling. And as you people know, I'm from England. I used to train to wrestle. You know what I mean? One of my ambitions in wrestling, it's not to go to WWE, main event Wrestlemania and all that. I've never wanted to do that. I've never cared for any of that. But something I've always wanted to do is go wrestle the best in NXT. And for a while, the best were people like Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, people like The Revival, people like Oscar. What is Vince doing to NXT 2.0 though? You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I do like NXT 2.0. People like Grayson Waller, Braun, don't call him Steiner Breaker. People like Mei Ying. I don't even know what they're doing, mate, with Mei Ying. Is she even with the company still? I don't know. But a lot of the NXT 1.0 faces, they've gone. Tommaso Ciampa, you don't know what's going on with Ciampa now. He sent out a tweet saying thank you with black and gold, with a black and white picture of him leaving the arena. I mean, what's going on with Ciampa? You've got people like Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly leaving on their own accord. It's upsetting to see that Vince is pretty much destroying Triple H's legacy, pretty much. There'll always be Triple H's legacy like the Reign of Terror and Evolution. But NXT, that's what Triple H's legacy is most known for, I would say. Of course, most people know him from in-ring competition, but a lot of people know him from NXT, from running NXT. Wendy Chu, new name for meeting. I'll have to check that out. I ain't never seen that. I'll definitely have to check this out after the stream. But in other news, tomorrow night, Deadlock Pro Wrestling, DPW, their first pay-per-view that I'm going to watch. You already know it is called. You got people in. I love DPW. You got people like Kid Bandit. People like my personal favourite in DPW, to be honest, is Bojack. You know what I mean? He just reminds me of Keith Lee so much, and I know I'd get a bit of slack for that, because, well, it's obvious I'd get a bit of slack for that, but I don't mean it in that way, if you know what I mean. I mean it in like, they're so charismatic and good in the ring that, yeah, I fucking love Bojack. I want him to beat Andrew Everett this Sunday. Sunday? No, what's tomorrow? It's Friday. I don't know. In the UK right now, it is a Saturday, so I'm just going to say that the pay-per-view's on a Saturday evening. But yeah, main event tomorrow: Andrew Everett versus Bojack for the DPW World Championship. You also got people like Kid Bandit. Kid Bandit's over as fuck. You got people on AEW with signs saying we want Kid Bandit. I fucking love Kid Bandit. You know what I mean? He's one of the most over people in wrestling right now, I would say. And DPW, literally around bound for glory for Impact. Oh god, I lit a fag before this stream, man. It's fucking already smoked itself out. Yeah, around bound for glory last year, that kind of time for Impact. Someone put out a tweet about DPW saying that Impact's going to have some competition. And me being me, not knowing what DPW was at the time, I replied being all snarky, like, what the fuck is DPW? I'm so glad I asked that. Because now DPW is an up and coming promotion. I like to watch things from the start. That's why I can't really get into MLW, because I don't know the history of MLW. I know people like Alex Hammerstone, and I think it's one of the Usos brothers or cousins, and that he's a dominant world champion. But I don't know the history of MLW. That's why I can't get into MLW. But DPW, I ain't seen their other show. I know they did a bit of stuff last year and that around the time. I ain't seen that. I'll definitely have to go check that out. Yeah, Covington also wants Bojack to beat Andrew Everett. I do like Andrew Everett. I discovered him from like 2015-16ish Impact. Around the time that Impact was the only thing I ever watched, because I was 10 years old in 2015, 11-year-olds in 16. So, at the time, all I knew from WWE was SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Because growing up, we didn't have Sky or BT in our home. We couldn't fucking afford it. We could barely afford food each week and that, never mind Sky. But yeah, literally. So until 2016, around the Rumble time, all I knew was TNA at the time. So I discovered Kid Bandit from there. I discovered people like Rosemary. Rosemary, one of my favourite performers ever. Like the night she debuted with the Decay, sorry, I do apologise. The debut of the Decay faction. Like my room, sorry, had a telly in, but my brother was playing up that night and that he wouldn't shut up. So I was like, fuck this, I'm going into my parents' room to watch, because my parents were out and that. My older brother was babysitting because they were out. So my brother was babysitting. I was like, fuck this, I'm going into mum and dad's room to watch it. So bloody, I went into there. First thing I saw on Impact that night was Rosemary, top of the stage, talking about a little riddle. Riddle me that, riddle me this, decay, all that type of shit, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? She absolutely fucking... At first, to be honest, I thought it was Crazy Steve in a bit of drag. You know what I mean? You'd never catch me in a bit of drag unless it was a one-off night out joke, you know what I mean? But I thought it was Crazy Steve in a bit of drag. I was like, what the fuck? But no, it was Rosemary. That's how and over time I was like, who is this Rosemary? I want to know more about her. And then when I properly started to look into Rosemary and her career, was around the time that she turned face in 2017 by saving Ali from an attack. And I think it was a call by Josh Matthews. He said, Rosemary don't like Ali as much as them two. Them two referring to Alison Kay and Chelsea Green, known as Laurel Van Ness and Sienna at the time. And that got me thinking. I was like, okay, seriously, who the fuck is this? I knew she was called Courtney Rush, because a couple of days after the debut, I was looking around YouTube and that, like, Rosemary outside of Impact. And I was like, I watched the video, had some pictures of Rosemary as Courtney Rush. Just that, I knew relatively who Courtney Rush was. But then I discovered the Rosemary and Ali feud. I then discovered that Rosemary was over as fuck on the internet. I then discovered that I wasn't fucking terrified of her anymore, but I wanted to fucking wrestle her. Yeah, Rosemary also in DPW, as Covington said. Got defeated by Andrew Everett in the second round of the DPW World Title Tournament. Would I say that was the right call? I would not. But I see why they did it. I do see why they did it. Rosemary, I think she's going to do big things in DPW and for DPW. You know what I mean? It's run by the New Legacy Inc. boys, I think you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's run by the New Legacy Inc. boys. And I know them and Rosemary really like each other, you know what I mean? So, Rosemary, Dub 3, DPW, you know what I mean? A little working relationship there and that. And all three like companies pretty much, if you can call Rosemary like a company, you could call her a brand pretty much. Much as Johnny Bates is a brand. He has the indie view, he has the career. You know what I mean? So them three brands working together could do big things. But let's get back to the subject of this podcast this week. It is the Indie View Awards for 2021. Last year had IVW. Sunny Wolf won Wrestler of the Year. Ruby Bates won Female Wrestler of the Year. But let's go into the first subject, which is Match of the Year. Now, there was a few subjects, a few nominations I could have chose. You had stuff like Roman, Edge, Bryan at Mania, Bianca and Sasha at Mania. You had people like Josh Alexander and TJP in that Iron Man match in Impact. You had Kota Ibushi and Jay White at Wrestle Kingdom last year. But the one I have decided to go for is... drum roll. Drum roll indeed. Oh, let me just get rid of this. Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page at AEW Full Gear for the AEW World Championship. Now, the Hangman story, that's one of the most built-up stories in recent memory in wrestling. I can't tell you a longer book story since Shawn and Hunter in about 02 to 06, I would say. But this one was only a couple years build, started from pretty much the inception of AEW. When Hangman stood on the stage and he said, I will become the first ever AEW World Champion. Obviously that did not happen, he did lose to Chris Jericho. I think it was All Out, I'm going to say. But Kenny Omega defeating Jon Moxley, who defeated Chris Jericho to become AEW World Champion first. 2020 or 2021, I can't remember which, to be honest, off the top of my head. I'm just going to say 2020 off the top of my head. Kenny and Hangman teamed up to defeat, I want to say, not FTR. They defeated someone to win the SCU to win the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Hangman, people got in Hangman's head saying he was the useless person in the Elite. That he was a jobber in Ring of Honor. To be honest, I don't know. I watched a lot of Ring of Honor stuff. I'm definitely going to start if they come back in April or somewhere around April. But Hangman listened, and when they lost the tag team championships to the Young Bucks, I want to say, Kenny did look. He pretty much looked distraught, and when Hangman went to grab Kenny because it was about to fall over, Kenny just moved. Kenny didn't want no part of it, and he just walked out. So he sowed the seeds to a feud there, and they could have done that there, but the feud there, but it definitely wouldn't have had as much impact as it did. So then you had Kenny costing the Young Bucks a tag team championship shot before that. I'm gonna say it was before that. Yeah, and then Hangman, they pretty much went off and did their own thing for a while. And then I think it was after All Out, a Dark Caller came out, said that Hangman Adam Page was ready to challenge Kenny Omega for the World Championship. No, this was in the build-up. This was in the build-up to All Out, because he faced Christian at All Out. Yes, that's right, Covington. They lost it to FTR, not Young Bucks, so. And then Young Bucks beat FTR. Yes, yeah. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah. But then, obviously, Hangman, he had the birth of his son. So he had to go away for a while, go tend to his son and his wife. And then, I think it was... No, it wouldn't have been Double or Nothing. But they had a casino ladder match. Hangman was the Joker. He came out. He gave a Deadite a pack, which people gave him a lot of fucking shit for some reason, and that saying like, well, Pac was recently concussed, but Pac carried on. Pac was alright, so fuck knows. But yeah, he gave Pac a Deadite off the ladder, climbed up the ladder, grabbed the poker chip, and that set the seeds for this match. Full Gear 2021, sorry. November 14th, I want to say. November 11th and November 11th. I'm sure on that. For Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page for the World Championship. Now, the week's building up for this. Not going to lie. I was hyped. I was absolutely hyped for this match. Watching the story back over and over. I probably missed a couple bits in that, because I've literally got no notes written down. But when the date of the match came, Hangman had that little promo before his entrance. At this time, cowboy shit was the most over thing in wrestling. Not gonna lie, when I saw him riding a horse, I thought he was going to come out on a horse. You know what I mean? Obviously, Hunter Horse Helmsley died and that a year or two ago. So I thought he was going to bring out a new horse and that, reintroduce that to his gimmick. Obviously he didn't. Probably for the best, to be honest. But, yeah, and then Kenny Omega came out, accompanied by Don Callis. About half an hour, 45-minute match. This was on, to be honest, I was half asleep when this match was on, because this match was on about 5 o'clock in the morning in the UK, and I had to wake up about 6. Well, I was pretty much just woke up at 5 o'clock for this match and that, just to see it, because I had work and that at about 7 and that morning. So I woke up, watched that match half asleep, and then, yeah, you had Kenny kicking out of a one-winged angel, which I wouldn't say, yeah, I wouldn't have had Kenny kick out the one-winged angel. I wouldn't even have Hangman hit the one-winged angel. You know what I mean? That they should have had someone like Jungle Boy or Darby Allin. Well, not even Darby Allin, because he's already established, but someone like, yeah, they should have had Jungle Boy, in my opinion, kick out the one-winged angel. That would have established him as a star, because he's one of the 4 pillars in that, pretty much. He's definitely a future world champion for sure, if not TNT champion. And then, yeah, you had Hangman, when they were both groggy, pretty much approaching the hour mark at this point, flipping over the rope in a lariat, 1, 2, 3. Hangman is the world's heavyweight champion of AEW. Not gonna lie, even to this day, I still watch his celebration over and over and over. Obviously, since then you've had him feuding with Daniel Bryan with that ending this week with a 60-minute time limit match. Obviously, that didn't go the distance or to the judges. And then, yeah, let's be interesting to see where both men go from here. Obviously, Kenny Omega ain't in action at the minute, teasing a feud with Adam Cole in his last appearance. And I can definitely see that happening, especially with the debut of Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. It's bound to happen. They even teased it when Kyle O'Reilly debuted, but that's for the future. And then Hangman, what's he gonna do next? I don't really know. I'd like to see him versus Christian, to be honest. Hangman could learn so much from facing Christian. You know what I mean? Even when I was wrestling for a bit, I learned so much off of the more experienced wrestlers. Even juniors, I wouldn't say that, because I used to wrestle with the juniors and that. You know what I mean? Every 3 times a week, pretty much, I would train, but only work with the juniors. And I wouldn't say that they're like main show, like your local indie show, not even at that level. But even from the more experienced juniors, such as Zach Anderson, who we did interview in the first series of Indie View podcast, I learned so much from him. And then we had, which I don't think this is a good name at all. I know you guys ain't gonna think this is a good name at all. Roman Reigns Jr. Fantastic wrestler. Not the best on the mic, but a fantastic wrestler. I learned a lot off of him, like in ring style. Shit name, shit promo though. Is what it is. He's a good bloke in real life. Goes to the same college at me. Still see him from time to time. But that's the match. And then we put up, who will win? I need to move that behind these actually. Otherwise, that's going to be fucking annoying, just putting that back and forth over and over again. But there we go. But other news this year included the return of crowds to wrestling. Not AEW. WWE would have been the first to do it with WrestleMania 37. And this is like the first event to have them back, not full time, but this was the first event to have fans back. A real feel-good moment. You know what I mean? Even the wrestlers were crying and that. They come out and said that they were crying on the stage at the start of the show. Not gonna lie. Even on the fucking watch along and that, I had to hide the fact that I fucking shed a couple tears. You know what I mean? Because I've watched a match with barely any crowd, and it's one of the hardest things to think how the wrestlers felt doing that day in and day out, night after night. But on that show, you had people like Oscar, Rhea Ripley, Roman Reigns, Edge and Daniel Bryan. I'm including both nights when I talk about this. I'm just going to refer to both nights as WrestleMania 37. I'm going to do like, night 1, night 2, because I fucking hate that. But even then, you had people like Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, people like Jey Uso. Well, yeah, you had Jey Uso accompanying Roman Reigns. You had people like Drew McIntyre, people like Bobby Lashley. Honestly, since the return to crowds, no events top that. Especially with the fact that you've had the legend, the myth, the living legend still. He is Samoa Poncho. Fuck Samoa Joe. We want Samoa Poncho back. Obviously, you had the 30-minute rain delay of WrestleMania 37. And then you had wrestlers cutting on unscripted promos and that, which, if that's going to be like legend in wrestling. Like, you see people on YouTube now, like, urban legends of WWE, Stephanie McMahon and Macho Man Randy Savage. in about 10, 20 years' time, you're going to have people like, oh, tape unscripted WrestleMania 37 rain delay promos. Honestly, off the top of their heads, they were amazing promos. But I'm getting off track here. You had Samoa Joe in a poncho, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take all the credit for this. I created the little known meme, Samoa Poncho. And you know what? I will claim that. But the next subject of this podcast is Company of the Year. And I think most people would agree with it when I say All Elite Wrestling, AEW. What a year for AEW. We had fucking hell, the ending. I'm just going to say ending or culmination now. The ending of a long-term feud. You had so many big debuts, which at some point will probably come back to bite them in the arse. But I'm the type of guy that lives in the present, not the future, not the past, but the present. And for right now, AEW's the best company out there, in my opinion. Obviously, you got Pele. Well, I'll say the second biggest now, considering you got DPW on the scene. But AEW AEW brought CM Punk back to wrestling. That's just like a reason to be Company of the Year in the first place. And then you had people like Hook, the most over bloke in wrestling right now. And then you had the debut of their new show Rampage. Sorry, just had a sip of my drink there, throat's going dry. But yeah, Rampage every Friday after SmackDown pretty much. I always just watch the replay because I always need to be up on a Saturday to do something. And then yeah, we've had about 20 episodes now, I want to say. That's like an estimate off the top of my head though. But Rampage, good show. You had marquee signings this year. You've had Hook. You've had the return of CM Punk. You had the Hangman story. So honestly, why wouldn't you put AEW on top of the wrestling world right now? Obviously, you've had the controversy with Tony Khan in recent memory with the big swole stuff. It is what it is with that. You know what I mean? Tony obviously ain't going to apologise. Leo Rush has calmed down about the situation. I ain't heard nothing from Big Swole since. So that is what it is. We digress from it. And then the very next subject of this podcast is the Breakout Star of the Year. Now, we've had quite a few Breakout Star of the Years this year. You've had people like, I said, Hook, Kid Bandit, people like Bojack. But then on the other side, you've also had people like Big E, people like Bobby Lashley, people like Miz, if you could say. People like even Daniel Bryan this year. However, the one I've gone with, a lot of people are going to disagree with this, especially Coaster, but I'm going to go with, no, not AEW, Bianca Belair. I probably missed a lot of stuff running up to the Rumble. However, it pretty much shocked me when Bianca Belair won the Women's Royal Rumble. And then at WrestleMania 37 in the main event of Night 1, that's the only time I'm going to refer to that, she did defeat Sasha Banks to win the SmackDown Women's Championship and kickstart that really good reign that had a really bad ending. I think we can all agree on that. She had feuds with people like Sasha Banks, feuds like Carmella. People, I'd say it was an underwhelming reign. The matches were good, don't get me wrong, but the caliber of opponents you was facing, no. It just don't do it for me, to be honest. However, we do digress onto the tag team of the year. Now, there was only like 3 options for this. I'm just going to name them now. Usos, FTR, and then Young Bucks. And it was a pretty hard decision, to be honest. You know what I mean? Young Bucks, they've had a tremendous year. However, the one I've decided to go with is the Usos, also known as altogether as the Bloodline. I'm going to take this down as Bloodline, including Roman Reigns, just for the fucking sake of it. Kickstarting the year, you had Roman Reigns as Universal Champion. At that point, people were starting to get a bit bored. You had a couple people, to be honest, including me, thinking that Kevin Owens was going to win at the Royal Rumble. Also, you had that botch with the handcuffs, but that is what it is. You move on. A botch is a botch. It's been highlighted many times with Botchamania. And then, yeah. And then you had Jey Uso winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Jey Uso, he had his breakout last year, I'd say. But this year, he's basically just gone back into the realm of a tag team guy. You know what I mean? Would I like to see him end Roman's reign? Yeah, I would, because he was the first person originally to be like, hey, what the fuck? Alright, I'm going to take the title off of you. And they've done Jey dirty. They've absolutely teased him here. You had stuff like Main Event Jey Uso. When was the last time he was called Main Event Jey Uso? I can't tell you, to be honest, except around WrestleMania time. But yeah, Jey's been done dirty. If they ever break up the Usos, I'd definitely want to see Jey be the one that turns into a monster heel. But we get to WrestleMania, Roman Reigns defeating Edge and Bryan Danielson in a 3-way match where he stacked and pinned them. I really like that, to be honest. If you want to establish Roman as a mega star, Cena, Hogan, Rock level, they're going a good way of doing it. Then you had Jimmy Uso returning after Roman defeated Bryan Danielson, send him to AEW. You had Jimmy Uso returning. Jimmy Uso feuding with Roman for a little bit before Roman pulled the family back together, essentially. Sorry, just had some of my drink there, so it's gone dry. But yeah, Roman pulled the family together, and then that Money in the Bank 2021, the Usos defeated the team of Rey and Dominic Mysterio to win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, kickstarting a reign that still continues to this day for all 3 members of the Bloodline. Obviously, you did have Paul Heyman with them. He's now no longer with them as it stands. I'm going to say as it stands right now, because you never know what Paul's going to do when Roman and Brock next face off. So I'm going to stay safe for now. Paul's not with them as it stands. But then you get to Christmas Eve. Paul turns on Roman. Not a lot of stuff of substance for the Bloodline since then, really. You know what I mean? Obviously, Roman caught COVID, missed day 1. By the looks of it, they're going into Mania for a unification match. Not an idea what the Usos are doing, but I'm going to put it out there now. IndieView had the idea of a unification match first. Literally, like the same, at the exact, like an hour before the 5-way happened, we had IndieView New Year 5th Gear, You had Solomon Davis, the WCF champion, win the 2022 Rumble match. For the he also won it back in 2019, so he is now a two-time winner, one away from a Royal Rumble record. However, he joins the prestige class of two-time BW Rumble winners, where he is a two-time winner. Nobody had become three-time. Let's see if he can do that again. However, I digress. Creed defeated the Mad Sonny Wolf to become the IBW World Champion. So any of you had that fucking idea first, WWE. What the actual fuck? Yeah, that's that for Tag Team of the Year. And then Female Wrestler of the Year. Same again, Bianca Belair. Same reasons as listed earlier. Breakout Star of the Year. Feud with Sasha, won the Rumble. Obviously, since SummerSlam, she ain't had much stock behind her since losing to Becky. But I can see big things in 2022 for Bianca. If that's winning the Rumble and facing Becky at Mania and beating her, or going down the road to feud with someone else in big time, I can see big things for Bianca. I can see big things for her. However, we digress onto the last subject of the evening, the one that will cause many controversies. There are quite a few subjects this year for this subject, which is Wrestler of the Year for the male. Yeah, people like Josh Alexander, people like Moose, people like Kenny Omega, people like Roman Reigns, Shingo Takagi. You can name a real one pretty much. You've got basically like similar to the fucking Pro Wrestling Illustrated top 10 pretty much. Like I looked at their list and it was spot on, except the Cody Rhodes spot. He wasn't even a nomination in the NDV Awards list. However, the wrestler I have decided to go for Wrestler of the Year. I'm going to take a sip of my drink before I do this. Kenny, by God, Omega, to quote Don Callis. What a year for Kenny, honestly. He's had a good few years now. Kenny Omega has. He became a triple champion, a quadruple champion if you want to count the TNA World Championship. He became the Impact World Champion, AEW World Champion. He won the AAA World Championship in 2019, holding that pretty much all through the year until losing it to Hangman. Well, not even losing it. He lost to Hangman and then vacated the belt. Apparently he's been wrestling injured and that with a shoulder injury for a while now. Which fair play to him, honestly, if it's carrying on. Because most wrestlers, since he's disappeared, they would have been coming back by now. But Kenny ain't even back yet. It don't sound like he's going to be back for quite a bit. Like, not even in the first half of 2022. But, even then, he's been wrestling with fucking Vertigo since 2018. And Kosa can tell you himself, Vertigo, you wouldn't want to have it. I don't want to fucking have it. I've had a couple mild cases, and even then, that made me like, that fucking bedrid me for about a fucking couple days. That was just for a fucking minor case. I don't handle illnesses very fucking well. That's why I don't want to get COVID. Because if I get COVID, I am what's known as fucked. But yeah, he also had that match of the year contender with Adam Page, and he actually increased the viewership for Impact. No matter how bad the decision was to center an Impact year around an AEW superstar, no matter how bad that was, he did increase the ratings for Impact. Which I know most people just heard me say that and go, oh, fucking ratings, demographics, fuck off with it. I don't care about ratings, but I want Impact to succeed. I started, the first ever company I watched in wrestling was TNA in 2014. I want Impact to succeed. That's why when I see people fucking saying, "Oh, lol, TNA mid-packed," it's like, mate, shut the fuck up. Get your head out of Dixie Carter's arse. Because the Dixie Carter days and the Hulk Hogan days completely like ruined TNA for most people. And then when AJ Styles left, most people packed it up and said, "Oh, what?" That is what it is. However, Kenny came in. He didn't bring in the numbers that TNA used to do. Don't get me wrong, but he did cause a increase, and an increase is good. So, our wrestler of the year. I'm going to take a sip of my drink before I do it again. Is Kenny by God Omega. Yeah, I definitely got to work on that. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy. In fact, before I go, I do want to plug something. Matt Hardy's new podcast, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. As you people know, I'm a big fan of the iconic Big Money Matt Hardy. And I watched his podcast this morning about No Mercy 1999. Absolutely fucking wonderful listen. You know what I mean? You had Edge, Christian, Jeff Hardy putting in the input. Jeff Hardy even made an appearance. He co-hosted with John Alba. It is sponsored by SaveWithConrad.com. I want to know, has anybody actually ever saved with Conrad? That's what I want to know. However, definitely go check out Matt Hardy's new podcast, named, once again, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. I hope you have enjoyed this week's show. We will be back next week with a special episode once again. It will be announced on Twitter at MushmeisterJB, MushmeisterJB. The theme of that special episode will be announced on my Twitter profile throughout the week at some point. I've been your host, Johnny Bates, La Johnny Bates, Mushmeister Johnny Bates, Master Bates, if you translate that to English, Master Bates. Au revoir, la petite poire, à l'amour, ça va.